In the hit movie The Penguin Lessons, Tom Michell, played by Steve Coogan, is depicted as a hero, portrayed as an eccentric teacher who rescued a penguin which changed his life.
Yes, he's okay with that.
But Channel 4 News has been told Tom Michell is not all that he seems.
He had a dirty secret.
His real name is Mike Thompson, and former pupils tell me that decades ago he serially abused them.
He's beginning to stroke me.
And he took his trousers down.
He would suggest masturbation.
And one claims that when he was discovered...
And he said, in about 10 seconds, that I'm going to put you to sleep. I didn't know what the hell was happening.
He was allowed to relocate to South America.
I never saw Mr. Thompson again.
Thompson's former pupils now want the film to be pulled and the police to investigate.
I was outraged.
This is wrong. There he is, standing, looking all pleased as punch.
The impact of what his pupils say he did never goes away.
I have found it almost impossible to trust anyone in the whole of my life.
If you keep this between ourselves, I'll let you all feed him some fish. Deal? Yes, he's okay with that.
It's an eccentric comedy about a disillusioned English schoolteacher who finds salvation in the unlikely form of a penguin in Argentina.
Stop, sir. What is in your bag? Show me now.
Morning, chap.
The film The Penguin Lessons sounds stranger than fiction, but it's based on the memoirs of this man, Tom Michell, immortalised on screen by Steve Coogan.
Tom's quite a decent chap. Mostly decent. And,
You don't know me that well.
I know.
Tonight, we reveal claims of a disturbing secret past of a man described by his former pupils as a serial abuser who allegedly fled to South America in the 1970s after being discovered.
A slightly sadistic man.
He had a dirty secret.
I just felt this is wrong.
In the early 1970s, Tom Michell was a teacher here at the Old Malthouse School in Dorset. But back then he was known by his real name, Mike Thompson. The Old Malthouse has been closed since 2007, but its former pupils remember it vividly.
My memory is of it being very beautiful, very rugged, and a long way from anywhere.
The Old Malthouse was remote. Boys as young as 7 boarded there.
This is just a picture my father took.
Some, like Simon, whose mother had died when he was 10, were isolated and vulnerable.
The new boys were all put in the same dormitory, and I remember certainly for the first few nights, probably longer, just hearing the sort of muffled sound of boys crying, because they missed their mums, dads, home.
In the absence of parental role models, the boys looked up to their young teacher, who taught science and an array of sports, drove a fancy car and even owned a yacht.
This new teacher turned up. My memory of him was good-looking, moustache, very confident.
Graham, who wants to remain anonymous and is using a pseudonym, remembers being in awe of him.
He could punt a rugby ball what seemed like half a mile into the air, and we worshipped people like that.
Richard was terrified of Thompson, but impressed by him too.
However hard he was, there was something sophisticated about him. He was like a James Bond kind of character.
The men say that Thompson played on their childhood vulnerabilities to win their trust, befriending them before abusing them. When 12-year-old Simon began to struggle in science, Thompson offered to help him after class.
I can certainly remember one incident, but I'm pretty certain there would have been more than one, where he's sitting to my right. I mean, I can remember that clearly. It's not the left, it's the right. And he's asking me to talk through what it is that I've understood or what he's saying. And he's beginning to stroke me. And I remember then looking at him and he said, "Don't look at me, keep your eyes at the front, and carry on. So I'd keep talking and you know, I'm getting aroused and he's masturbating me basically.
Graham says Thompson introduced him and other 12-year-old boys to pornography, and he claims the teacher went on to abuse them in the science block.
He was a teacher in the dark, sometimes with one, I think sometimes with two other boys, and he would suggest masturbation, himself included.
Graham says Thompson's behaviour soon escalated further.
I can't remember exactly how many times we met in the science block, but I'm going to say it was between 10 and 20 occasions. And I can't remember the circumstance where he asked for oral sex. I don't remember feeling abused. I don't remember feeling dirty. It was just part of the process, part of the group.
What do you think about that now?
I don't have many memories of the detail, but one thing I can do is I can smell him now.
For these men, seeing Thompson involved in the film has brought back painful memories.
Go and be free in the sea.
Look, 50 years ago, a penguin flapped its wings, and on the ripples of that flapping wings, it's carried me here tonight.
Richard was badly bullied at school. He was initially terrified of Thompson, but tried to ingratiate himself with his teacher by polishing his car and later his yacht.
I remember being excited. It was definitely the first yacht I'd ever been on. He'd invite me to get naked to do whatever I was doing on the deck.
It was on the yacht that Richard confessed his deep unhappiness at school. Richard claims Thompson then invited him to his rooms.
He offered me a cup of tea the first time I went to his rooms. And that was a treat in itself. And I remember specifically the cup was a bit old lady-like.
Richard claims Thompson then proposed hypnotising him.
And so I said, why, sir? And he said, because you'll find it much easier to tell me everything. And he got a watch out of his pocket, like an old-fashioned pocket watch, on a chain. And he said, in about 10 seconds, that I'm going to put you to sleep. And I remember being too sleepy to say no or to do anything about it. And I remember him saying, I'm going to take your trousers down and inspect you.
He was touching you.
Yeah.
And why do you think you were so drowsy?
And it took me about 20 years before I had almost a revelation. And I came to the conclusion that I think I was drugged.
In the tea?
Yes. I don't know. I have no proof.
Richard claims he was repeatedly invited to Thompson's rooms, given tea and put to sleep.
I'm going to tell you the last time I went to his rooms. But this isn't easy.
Just take your time.
It was the same thing, really. It was a cup of tea. It was finished a cup of tea. It was lie down on the bed. I don't think you can get an erection. You need help with that. And he took his trousers down and started masturbating in front of me. I'm pretending to be asleep, so my eyes are just like tiny little slits. And I remember him pushing his penis into my face.
At that moment, Richard says Thompson realised he wasn't asleep and told him to get dressed in a hurry. After this horrendous alleged assault, Richard says he started experiencing night terrors, so the matron arranged for him to sleep near her in the sick bay.
She woke me up properly from sleep and said, "Who are you talking about?" And she said, at the end of almost every sentence, I'm saying, "Stop it, sir. Don't, sir. Leave me alone, sir." I didn't want to tell her, but I did tell her.
It was to prove a pivotal intervention.
I never saw Mr. Thompson again.
Do you believe he was fired because of what you'd said?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
At the end of 1975, after 4 years at the Old Malthouse, Thompson left. In 1976, he started work at an elite public school in Buenos Aires that would provide the backdrop to the penguin lessons. More than 4 decades passed. The boys, on reaching adulthood, tried to push their traumatic experiences to the back of their minds, but they couldn't forget.
It has bubbled to the surface from time to time, and in 2017 I thought it was time to go to the police, so I did, and they started their investigation.
Graham was told that Thompson was interviewed under caution and that this would in future show up on an enhanced pre-employment check by the DBS, the Disclosure and Barring Service, even though he wasn't charged.
Where is he from? Is he your pet?
By then, Thompson had published a memoir entitled The Penguin Lessons.
I want to make a difference.
Steve Coogan was lined up to play the unconventional teacher in a film of the same name, released in cinemas this year.
I just felt, this is wrong. There he is, standing, looking all pleased as punch, having jokes with the other actors.
Wow, how does it feel to be here tonight, having your story told on the big screen?
Quite absurd. Look, here am I, I'm a nobody, surrounded by the great and the good of British entertainment.
Thompson was even an executive producer on the film.
It was the first time I've ever been out onto a film set.
Incensed by seeing Thompson lauded, Graham got in contact with us.
I was outraged that here was someone being lionised, being filmed, attracting significant celebrities and actors for endorsement, doing the rounds of national television when he had a dirty secret.
Thompson's alleged victims want him to face justice, or at least acknowledge what he's done.
I would love him to be able to face himself and go, yeah, I didn't behave well. That was massive violation.
They'd never have felt able to go to the police as children in the 1970s, but now all 3 men are prepared to hand over their evidence.
It was criminal. It was entirely wrong.
The lasting impact of what happened there is that I have found it almost impossible to trust anyone in the whole of my life.
Our investigation raises disturbing questions for Penguin Books, which published Thompson's account of his life under the pen name Tom Michell. The publisher is already reeling after the scandal over the alleged misrepresentations in another memoir, The Salt Path, strenuously denied by the author. There are questions too for the producers behind the hit film.
I hope that other people see this broadcast and are prepared to approach the police. I hope that the film is withdrawn from circulation and he is denounced by those celebrity actors that got involved.
Give all the royalties to child abuse charities. All of them. All of them.
In a statement through his lawyers, Thompson vehemently denied the allegations. He said, "These deplorable claims are without substance and emphatically denied. A version of Graham's false story was dismissed by the police in 2017. If these individuals were abused 50 years ago, they have my sympathy, but it was not me who was responsible." Penguin Random House told us they were deeply shocked and surprised by the allegations, which they hadn't heard previously. The film production companies said they hadn't done any background checks because Thompson wasn't a member of the production team or working on set. They confirmed he had visited the set once, but there were no children present.
I don't know. To me, I look lost.
Simon looks back on pictures of himself and feels an overpowering sense of grief, for his younger self. What would you say to 12-year-old Simon, to your 12-year-old self?
I'd say that I'm sorry that it's taken a long time. Yeah, I would say I'm sorry it's taken a long time for me to really listen to you. But I am listening, and I did the best, you did the best that you could during that time to survive.
Richard fervently believes that by coming forward about his experience, he can offer hope to other survivors of abuse.
I'm not here for me. I'm here on behalf of every child, and indeed every person who has ever suffered serious abuse.
The Old Malthouse closed nearly 2 decades ago, but those who remember how they were tormented here are starting to dismantle the walls of secrecy and let their memories emerge. And if you've been affected by any of the issues raised, you can find support on Channel 4/support.